Okay, please watch this interview. I mean, it's something you really have to start learning. I mean, within the next year, it's going to be taking over the country, and entrepreneurism and getting money and all this kind of thing. Because see, there's something called the Jobs Act that Obama set up during the crash a couple of years ago, and it's finally working its way through the legislative process. Well, actually not through legislative, but through the bureaucracy of the Securities and Exchange Commission. See, for a small business to get publicly held public money from investors, it costs them hundreds of thousands of dollars to go through all these regulatory agencies or whatever to get approved and everything. The Jobs Act will make it easy now for you to do that. Number one, for you, anybody to be an investor in any public company anywhere, and could do it on the web. And now it'll be easy for a company who's looking for money, a small business or entrepreneur wants to get money from anybody on the web, they could do it for next to almost nothing. Now it really takes hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what's neat about this, see, now you've heard all the stories about how these millionaires made so much money, when somebody went public, the Facebook or Instagram or all these kinds of things that are going on. These people who became millionaires when that stock went public were already millionaires. They knew this on the inside before, and that's how they become richer and all this kind of stuff. So you had to go to the country club or whatever, or belong to some hoi polloi thing to be involved in this. That's not the case anymore. It's going to be open on the internet, so you have a hot idea, you could put it on the internet. I don't even know you from Adam. I could be able to go on the internet and invest in your company as you're looking for members. I could talk to people who are also thinking about it, and go right onto this website and talk to other people thinking about it in this country. Now, it's just at its beginning stages. That's where this is. And actually, it's not national yet. And the fellow I'm going to talk to is now doing this in Georgia, because their state laws allow them to do it in Georgia. So in the next few months, it'll probably be open to the Wild West, and everybody else will be able to do it. But this guy will be ahead of the curve, because he's been going to be doing it. He's going to have a history like nobody else does it. So check out his site. You have to start learning. It's a place now. If you're in Georgia, you could invest $10,000, in the next hot Facebook or something, and be on the inside, and go on his website and find out who else is investing in that. Right? Go on the website and talk to the people before you invest. Not the people trying to sell you something, but the other potential investors. See, that's what's neat. You'll be able to get this intelligence, information about what may happen to this or whatever, because everybody's guessing, but this is a way to make sure about any investment. Once it gets on the web and it becomes open to anybody, so you and anybody else could find out about it and talk to other potential investors. I mean, to me, it's going to revolutionize the whole way we're going to be doing business, at least raising money to do business. And so whether you're an entrepreneur or an investor, you have to watch this stuff, because this is where it's going to be happening, and you don't want to be the last one getting on this train, because it's leaving the station now. So the sooner you learn about this, the sooner you're able to be taking advantage of, the more you'll be on the front edge and getting the better opportunities, instead of on the way in the back somewhere, picking up the crumbs after everybody else already cherry-picked everything. So start listening and start learning. Watch this interview. Well, Dave Lilienfeld of SterlingThunder.com. Man, you're the only person in America that people can come to, practically, if they want to raise venture capital as a small business, or they want to invest in, small, or be an investor in a business without going through the SEC or any of that nonsense, right? So why are you able to do it and nobody else can do this?
Yeah, great. Well, we're uniquely positioned because we are in the state of Georgia, which is only one of 2 states that are allowing equity crowdfunding in the country currently for non-accredited investors. So we just happen to be in the right place.
So really, the rules are you've got to be a fat cat to purchase equity in a stock or a company on the internet, except with you, right?
Yep.
That you can be a little mouse or anybody you want and invest up like $10,000. That's what it is in Georgia.
And in Georgia it is, but you're exactly right. I mean, when these technology companies go public and they make a lot of millionaires, what they don't tell you is that most of the people who became millionaires were already millionaires.
Right. Right.
So crowdfunding is a great opportunity for everybody in the country to get involved and participate in these early stage companies.
Right, because I mean, my understanding, I'm not a fat cat who does all this, but I mean, it's like people hang around the country clubs and know about some stockbroker has the deal, and and the company really had to put up probably a couple $100,000 just in fees for lawyers to make it happen too.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
And now, so this is right now you're only in Georgia, right? So you have to be a company looking for money who's located in Georgia, and you have to be an investor in Georgia. But
Correct.
soon it's going to be national, right? So you'll have more history than anybody else when everybody else gets the road, right?
That's right. We'll have a track record, and we'll be doing these kind of equity crowdfunding deals, and before the rest of the country because of the rules here in Georgia. And then the Jobs Act is coming. That'll come nationwide, and that'll really trigger, I think, the time for equity crowdfunding to shine.
Now, I think this is probably the next biggest thing since the internet, that's happening, for small business. But more importantly, it seems like if I'm an entrepreneur in Georgia and want to start a business, and once the Job Act gets, officially online, it could be anywhere, but to raise venture capital or not raise equity, this is somebody buys stock in my company, right? So if I'm a small business and I'm looking for people to invest in my company, I could come to your site and you vet me a bit and make sure I'm not a gangster or whatever. And I go on your site and look for investors, but it costs me almost next to nothing to be able to do that on your site. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, it's a very, very efficient way to raise capital. So we do recommend that there's some, you have a lawyer review what we call the offering documents if you're a company. But that can be done inexpensively. We provide the documents as sort of starter documents that should be reviewed by the legal counsel. Once they're but that's not an expensive undertaking, and like you said, it's far less than having to go through the more formalities involved with the SEC.
God. And then as an investor now who's going to buy a share of this company, then I come to your site and look. Now you say what's interesting about your site is I know other people who are investing. I mean, I could find out on your site who else is investing in this stuff, right? And
you can find out not only who's investing, but even before that, Matthew, you can figure out who's interested, who might be investing, and you can communicate with them. You can vet, you can collaborate on your due diligence, so you can go through the process of vetting this investment as a group. Even though you don't know each other, you as the potential investors share information, you share what you've learned, you share your expertise with each other, and that group, that collaborative effort really is probably the best due diligence out there.
Yeah. So it's
and then you'll see who are the investors, and you can sort of tag along onto other investors that's the way you want to do it.
Well, if you know somebody who's been hot at doing this, you just see if they're there and you help out.
Right.
But more importantly, you're saying you can get questions asked from other people, answered from other people who are doing this kind of investment too. So it's like you're creating, what used to be at the country club. This happened, right? Your stockbroker said, "Hey, I got a deal for you," and you're at the country club. And, "Hey, Charlie called me up, and I got a deal. What do you think?" And so now I don't have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to belong to some country club, and I just go on your site, and it's the same process at no charge.
Well, we're right. You're right. We're creating a community.
Yeah.
Community of folks, and there's communication tools, and that's one of the major emphasis of crowdfunding is letting the collective intelligence of the crowd make these decisions and share information. And on the entrepreneur side, like you touched on this too, on the entrepreneur side, it's just a much more efficient way to raise capital. I talk to CEOs, they spend 50, 60, 70% of their time trying to raise capital to make payroll. and this is a much more efficient. They say, you mean I can raise capital by just being in my office and and managing this web page as opposed to flying to this coast and that coast and down all over. So entrepreneurs are really excited about the opportunity to raise capital much more efficiently so they can focus on their companies.
But it seems like also from a small investor, I mean, I get closer to the company I'm investing in. Instead of going through a stockbroker who may or may not know and he's just trying to make a commission and all. I mean, it's right the horse's mouth that I'm dealing with as a small investor.
Well, one of the things we expect to see is a local bias, because investors will be able to pick. I mean, they'll be able, once the Jobs Act is implemented, they can pick from companies all around the country.
Right.
But what we're expecting to see is they're going to have they're going to prefer to invest in companies that they are near them, and they can go visit. Maybe they have some connection with the CEO or member of the management team. So it's really, I mean, when you're getting investment through crowdfunding, you're getting capital, but you're also getting advocates for your business. You're getting customers for your business. Hopefully, you're getting what we call smart money, which is investors who can add something to your business in terms of connections or expertise. So it's not just about raising capital. There's more to it. There's a strategy behind who comes on as investors in your company.
No, I mean, I think you're absolutely right on that, particularly in a local area. Then a small business really, so many more people will know about their capabilities and appreciate them, and they spread the word. I mean, it's using that so-called social media to really be social about your business, like nothing before, instead of just a cold, lawyer.
There's also ways, I mean, communities can get together and decide to fund. There's a story about, and this went around on Facebook, but there was in an area of Atlanta, there was sort of an absence of a Thai restaurant. And a group of neighbors got on Facebook and started a petition for let's open a Thai restaurant in our area. And, who knows how to manage a restaurant? Who has some capital? Who wants to work there? And it really steamrolled purely through online. So crowdfunding, I think, will make that happen much more frequently.
But even so, I mean, as you explain that, see, if they knew about your site, they could use your site to handle all the back-end details that's required for those investors and not worry a thing about that. They're probably out hiring lawyers like you used to be to do that. But you're an intellectual property rights lawyer, is that what you are?
Correct. Yeah. We handle patents, trademarks, copyrights. I was involved with that whole world, and it was, there's a lot happening in that world as well.
Yeah, no, I'm sure, because everything, we're not making stuff, we're making information, so that's what's going on. But why did you get into...
about trademarks, because I love your trademark. All right. I recognize you mile away, doing your laugh and your hair and your great clothes. You've got it nailed down.
Yeah, I went up to give a speech about branding up at Harvard Business School, and I had to get up there and say, I was just having fun. It was by accident. I didn't know.
Well, so you have a great one. You have a great one. You've done a great job.
Well, so what made you interested in crowdfunding? I mean, you're doing a good work, I'm sure, in intellectual property. Yeah,
I've always been an entrepreneur, and I knew how difficult it was to raise capital. So as soon as the Jobs Act passed, it was actually the day the president signed the Jobs Act that we basically started working on Sterling Funder. So I just knew intuitively that this was going to be a much more efficient way to raise capital, and it was going to give investors an opportunity to get in on these companies that they've never had any access to. Right. And so I just felt right away, intuitively, that this was going to be a big change.
I believe. I mean, it's opening the doors for the little guy to be in on the next, Facebook, and as you say, instead of millionaires only. But more importantly, what we forgot to cover is you also are what's called a reward crowdfunding site. I mean, you don't have to buy equity. You could give T-shirts or something to get money for your site too, or your business.
Yeah, we thought it was best for companies to be able to have both kind of programs on one site. So, based on the way crowdfunding was shaping up, they would have had a customer capital or company that wants to raise capital would have to go to one site for rewards and another site for equity. And we decided that was inefficient. We brought them both. It was a lot more work for my developers, but then we brought it back. We brought them together, and you can do both.
I think that's yeah, brilliant, because I mean, if you're a small business, you know, you need 5-10 grand or something like that. Yeah, maybe you don't want to go up raising shares, but you just need a new espresso machine in your coffee shop, you know, and you could give little, you know, menus in your name, or call a coffee after you, or something like that. You know,
it's a great way, and I mean, and they said reward programs, crowdfunding is a great testing ground.
Yeah.
So if you were able to raise money through reward-based crowdfunding, then you probably have an attractive product. You've already got built-in customers. You're beginning to build your online presence. So it's just a good sign if you can have a successful reward program. It's a good indicator that you'll be able to be successful on the equity crowdfunding side.
It's nice to start with training wheels, right?
Yeah. Little League. We'll call it Little League.
Well, David, wonderful you're there. And it's sterlingfunder.com. And you're practically the first in the country that's out offering equity investing to the little guy. So you're going to be the grandfather of this soon. So hang in there.
It's a whole big team working on it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here, and I'm really glad that you're here helping spread the word about crowdfunding. I think it's important, and I'm glad you're doing it.
Oh, thank you so much. sterlingfunder.com. Thank you, David. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.
Okay, see, it's something. Maybe you don't want to invest. Well, you can't unless you're in Georgia, or you're a business in Georgia right now. But or you're a fat cat. See, if you're making over $200,000, there are other websites, you know, that you could invest in, because you're what's called a registered investor. That's a fat cat. But if you just have a couple $1,000 or something like that, you can't do that anywhere now. Yeah, but you will soon, and that's why his site lets you do that in Georgia. You know, so this is coming to a theater or a website near you soon, so get ready.